This is Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of AFL Unpopular Opinions. I'm your host, Ryan Cook. Joining me with a fresh haircut, it's Tom Rockliff.
Well, we needed to get to that. I was going to bring it up in the snapshot, but you and I are very sharp. We're going short on the sides. The hairdresser this week, I like to blend it.
I'm getting some Rugrats
Blended?
vibes here. Phil and Dill. Have we got
I
Phil
like
and
to
Dill?
blend it in, but he's gone aggressive and high, so that's right.
Blend. It's more. Looks like a possum's been put on your head. Because last week's show was about the feathers.
It was.
Oh, loosely packed feathers over there.
And our man's rocking the hat.
Got
this
on the
week.
hat. What?
It gets a bit bright here. Richard's got the lights quite low in the studio,
So sorry about that. If
didn't want to
made
wear
you
the
a
sunny,
hat.
so I thought I'd put the hat on.
He's been thinking about this all week, our man, Jack.
Oh yeah, I've been
picked the outfit. He
to
looks
all
good.
the clinics. No, it looks good. It matches everything.
Matches everything.
Let's move on.
No. Let's not move on. Let's keep talking about appearances because, Lynchy, you were rocking some new goggles over the
Yes.
weekend.
Well, they're not new. It's just, and I only need them when I want to see stuff.
You don't want to see
Well,
the
you
game.
don't want to look at us.
Some of them that he watches.
No. I always wear them during games, and I've forgotten them once, and I can't see a thing.
Yeah.
So I've got to watch it on the TV. But no, I just I found the last couple of weeks, to be honest, because when we're doing pre-game, you got your monitor down there, and I haven't been able to see it, and my memory's getting worse. So I think, geez, no, I've got to put them on. So no, the goggles are on, I think. Mostly.
Speaking of not being able to see, you might have to give him. He plays golf with Richard Champion a fair bit. You might need to lend them to him because we're in the Triple M box on Saturday calling that game, and no show in the first quarter. He crashed his car on the way down.
Did he?
Oh wow!
Did he?
Bad or
No, he was okay. He ran up the back of a young girl, I think, and
Okay.
a little bit delayed. So he
Oh,
might
fella.
not need the glasses as well.
Geez, I reckon. No, he's getting a bit old and doddery now. So I didn't know that. Quarter time.
Halfway through the
take
first,
his
yeah.
license?
That's frustrating when you get there late. You get that sick in the guts feeling.
Yeah, and when you crash your car, so
Yeah, that's not.
That's unfortunate.
That's not good.
Specsavers.
Yeah. All right, let's start then with that Gold Coast Melbourne game because looked like it was going to be about a 100-point massacre to the Suns after that first quarter. Melbourne comes back, makes it a bit of a game, but a week ago we weren't really sure if the Suns were going to be a finals team. Are we all back on board now?
Well, they're a bit the same the way they played the week before. Jump out of the blocks and then let the opposition back in. So there was a slight breeze to that end that they were kicking in the first quarter, but they would have liked to have drove it home, and particularly when I think they were 46 up at three-quarter time, so they extended the lead back during that third quarter, and then they let Melbourne back in and had a couple of them. Melcham snapped one from the top of the square, missed it, and I think Bailey Fritsch played on and missed. If they had both nailed them, it would have been back under 10 points with 5 minutes to go. So still not convinced on the Suns, and concerning somewhat, but their best footy is as good as anyone when their midfield trio get going, and I thought Matty Rao was best on ground. I don't know the way you've seen it, Lynchy, but I thought after signing that 2-year deal, he was good. And Melcham, he had 11 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Melcham,
six.
geez, he's a good
Deadly.
player. Like his other best game was against Brisbane.
Harris Andrews.
Harris Andrews, where he kicked 4 goals as well. He plays a very important role. But yeah, they were they'd be embarrassed. Melbourne would be embarrassed for that first quarter. And it wasn't until they chucked Jack Viney back in there to really get some hardness. So that was. Yeah.
From a coaching point of view, like we couldn't work it out. We were calling it. Why wouldn't you have Viney in the middle? He touched it 2 times in the first quarter as a half forward, and they were on top. That Rao, Anderson, Miller, these guys, Flanders, they were up and about running. And I know that Viney's sort of carrying a hand. You can see he was wearing a glove. But as soon as he went in the middle, it was a different complexion for them in the middle.
I think what happened though, and we spoke to Simon Goodwin pre-game about, they had the bye, so you got time to assess, and finals are all over for them, obviously. So they've gone in at the start of the game, put in a few of the younger players in the middle. Didn't work, and they've gone straight back. Got to go back to the tried and true Jack Viney. So I think they tried to get some younger guys through, but it just didn't work, and they had to go back to Viney, who I think his last start at People First Stadium, he was best on ground as well. But he was really important. So disappointing start. That'd be frustrating for Melbourne supporters because that second quarter they came back, and was it parts of the third quarter as well. And you see that they can really play, but where was it in the first term? It'd be frustrating.
They're still missing that key forward. So whether Goody's still there next year or not, I assume he probably will be, but they need to get a key forward. They need to be able to poach one out of somewhere.
Well, Van Rooyen just hasn't worked at this stage. And sometimes
he got dropped, didn't he?
Yeah, he got dropped.
And Lever.
So Lever got dropped. McDonald was in the twos as well. So they had a number of players in the twos that they've obviously decided they've moved on from. And they've got to expose them. But yeah, Van Rooyen, they'll stick with him. He might be just a later maturer.
They'd love Luke Jackson, I think, in that forward half.
Yeah.
Let him go, but yeah. Anyway, their midfield's as good as anyone. Their defence is solid. Stephen May looked a bit off early. I thought King had the better of him.
He did.
Stephen May's been off, though.
Yeah.
I think because there was discussions when they dropped Jake Lever, there was a lot of discussion, well, should it have been Lever or May?
Yeah.
Because he was one of the premier defenders in the competition up until a couple of years ago or a year ago. So he had 5 years where he was either he could do the intercept work, but he could lock down and compete with the best forwards in the competition. He just seems a bit off at the moment. And maybe, it's just bad form. Maybe he's just getting towards the end of his career. But, yeah, concern when your two pillars that you recruited for the premiership of May and Lever are very much out of form.
Yeah.
Is Jackson the sort of forward they need? Because they had Ben Brown for a while and that kind of didn't work out either. Is it more about the way Melbourne plays footy? Well,
they might argue it did work out Ben Brown. Didn't he kick 5 in the grand final?
Yeah, that's true.
They won by 90 odd points.
But a target, so a confident type. And Ben Brown's not a pack marker, but he was a predictable present up at the ball carrier sort of target.
And it allows Fritsch to do his job a little bit differently because he's out of form. But if he had that key target, he might be able to get a bit of flexibility. Melcham, he had Collins and Mac Andrews and got him done. He's had 11 shots on goal. So they've got options. It's just they're missing that big prime target. So that bigger body in there just to be able to release a bit of pressure and whatnot. Because Gawn can push forward and do it. So if they had Jackson and Gawn, whether you can get him back, there was some murmurs that they might be able to. I think it'd be hard to poach out of there.
Just I reckon. Now, we spoke last week also about the long-term deal for Keziah Pickett.
Yep.
Was it 1.3 times 10 or 8 or something? Long-term. Something like that.
That ballpark, yeah.
So I stand by what I said. I still question the term. I was comfortable with the money. I'm very comfortable with the money. Jeez, he can play.
He's a good player.
Jeez, he ripped him apart there at stages. So the more time he can spend in the middle of the ground and that impact, he was very good. What about that crumbing goal?
One step and just snap around the corner.
Amazing player. So yes, very comfortable with the money. The term is still an issue, but he's exciting.
That second quarter turnaround was pretty much on the back of his play.
Him and Viney,
him and Viney.
Yeah.
And I thought, Petty got concussed. I thought he was competing well. He makes a few blues, but I thought he competes well. Yeah. So there was only a handful of them that were really competing. Melcham was one.
Petty's a storyline in itself because that's his second for the year.
Concussion, he's had a few.
That's getting a bit scary now.
Yeah, and that one, it didn't look a great deal either. Yes, it was a bit, but it wasn't.
He got up straight away.
Big one, yeah. So a bit of concern. We know obviously concussion and how serious it's taken there.
No good.
And that's the evolution. He had his head over the ball. Yeah. Whereas yesteryear, everyone turned their body to protect themselves. But too many players. And this has started in your time where players were leading with the head to get that head-high free kick. Yeah. Which seems ridiculous, but that's what happened, wasn't it? Put your head in, you're going to get a head-high.
You get a free kick, yeah. The technique's not taught as well as it used to be.
No. And if you come in with your bum, you're going to hit someone in the head. You're going to be in strife. So,
got to be a bit
tough
careful.
situation.
Speaking about head knocks, our man over here, Rocky, they call him the Stephen A. Smith of the AFL world. Set the social media landscape alight last week with his Sydney Swans hot take, and there are a few calls in the comments about you suffering too many head knocks, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's an easy option for him out there to go to the CBD, isn't it? But they were good on Friday night. They didn't get the job done against the Dogs.
No, they were good.
I think they're out to 21 for the top 8 for the little flutters out there. They've got to probably win every game on the way home.
Yeah.
So they
do, I think.
There's no room for error now.
They might be able to have one slip up, I reckon, in my calculations to get in. But They've got to beat Brisbane up here and Geelong, I think, on their home deck. Every other game, I think they win. I think they'll beat Fremantle this weekend. They probably, you could argue that they should have won the other night had they taken their chances potentially early in that game. But I think when those players are back and playing form, I called him Eric last week. Errol Goulden.
Did someone point that out?
Yeah, there was a few people. I think Rich looked after me there on the clip.
Did he? Dubbed it
Make sure it said Errol, not Eric.
Yeah,
But
heard Rich's voice come over.
I went with Lockie Weller. I called him Luke Weller in the pre-game. Luke Weller used to play for Brisbane. Yeah,
it's easy enough to do. But I think they're still a sneaky outsider.
Yep.
Sneaky outside.
$21.
I did my ladder predictor and sent it through in the group chat, so I had a few teams slipping out. And
you tell us who's coming out of the 8.
So I have Collingwood on top on 84 points.
Big call.
They're going to be hard to beat for the rest of the year, which I don't even know. 84 is a lot of wins. Brisbane to finish second, Dogs third, Crows fourth, Cats fifth. So Dogs, Crows and Cats are all on the same amount of points. Giants, Hawks, Swans. So I have Fremantle and Suns falling out.
So you've got Suns in 10th spot.
So I have the Suns
What's that on?
Struggling on the way home.
With what, 10 wins?
48.
Oh, 48 was it?
48 points, so that they'll finish at 12.
Three from the next 9.
3 from their next 8. 8 games to go.
So let's run through
they've got an extra, I think.
Let's run through the run home then. Freo this week at the Showgrounds, which is another side story we've got to talk about. St Kilda, North Melbourne, Battle of the Bridge, the Bombers, the Lions, the Cats, and West Coast.
Yeah, so the 3 that are concerned out of those group for me are the Giants, Lions, and Cats.
Yep.
Cats are at home for them. They're in Sydney.
SCG, yep.
So they don't. So I think the big one's going to be Brisbane up here, which they've done in the past. I think they're capable of doing. The other games don't really concern me, and it's probably going to make me look stupid saying that, isn't it? Fremantle will probably come and beat them this week.
The Lions finishing second, so they're going to win most of their games other than that one against
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, they're just so hot and cold. You don't know what Brisbane you're going to get, but they get up for those big games. So, yeah, I think they're still a good chance. And Fremantle yesterday, they weren't crash hot against St Kilda. And Gold Coast are they're being just too up and down for me. I think they'll got Essendon a couple of times. They'll win them. Don't think they'll beat Brisbane. And they've got they do have a tough draw, the Suns, on the way home.
They're still having those moments, aren't they? They just don't nail. Well, they should have just
Is that just
put that away.
between the ears at the moment?
It's just
not
maturity.
Used to winning?
Yeah.
It's still the maturity and playing at a consistent high level in big games. Look, they've got some inexperience. Like Mac Andrews, their centre half back or key defender. Like he's still up and down. He's still growing. Their forward line still very immature, but they score enough. No, they're going. They're going all right. So I think they'll make it.
What do you think would be better result for them? Just to finish 9th on a strong season, build for next, or 8th and get?
They need to play final.
Play a final.
They need to taste it.
Play a final, and not ideally, but play a final at the MCG. Get down there and get amongst it. Now, whether they win or lose, it's not about this year for them.
It's a tasting it.
Yeah, well, they're not going to win the flag, I don't think. So they got Essendon,
They're no
which you'd say they win. I might have been a bit stiff on them. They play Collingwood up here, which you'd think Collingwood would get them. Crows down in Adelaide, Brisbane at home, Richmond, Carlton, Giants, Bombers and Port. So they probably win 3 or 4 of them.
Yep.
Well, they got the Bombers twice. Then, so
Bombers twice, yeah.
So I'm for the first time. I wasn't on them to play finals at the start of the year. I think they'll play finals.
You've come around.
I've come around.
Okay.
Yeah, they're so much better than this time last year. They've improved greatly. More depth through the midfield. And you look at... Now, John Noble wasn't a Brownlow medalist at Collingwood, but geez, he's playing an important role. He's had a couple of quiet weeks.
Give him
but
a Brownlow.
No, see, he's not.
He might be a best and fairest winner. Like, he's had a pretty solid season.
He plays an important role. What was he? He had about 11 touches or something in the first quarter, 7 score involvements in the first term.
Yeah.
He drops off because obviously Melbourne put a bit of time into him. Rioli jumps up. Joel Jeffrey was the other one down back that started to get the ball. No, they've got a number of strings to their bow. They're not just reliant on just Ben King or just Touk Miller.
Yep.
But even now, Touk Miller's role, what are you laughing about? Touk Miller's role is...
the Neds Gold Coast podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit like that.
Right.
I'm not saying you. We both spent about 10, 15 minutes on them. They've been good. The big story over the weekend has to be Thursday night, though, doesn't it? And we've got to put up with them on a Friday night, a Thursday night, a Saturday night, and another Thursday night in the next month.
Yeah. What did you make of the vandalism, first of all? That's I mean, you don't get that much in the AFL. That's like an English soccer fan kind of thing.
I reckon the last time that I can recall spray painting on a club facility was Fitzroy got done with a kick after the siren at Football Park back in the early 90s, and they spray painted AFL House. Well, VFL House it was back in those days.
Can you remember what it said?
No, I can't.
Drop Lynchy.
I'll go play the free kick.
They were non-existent, and I know that I've spoken a bit about 5-day breaks and teams not performing off the back of them. Port Adelaide had a 5-day break as well, but they were not cited in that first half.
Nah.
And even for the game, they were disappointed. Like, if they roll that out at the MCG on Friday night against Collingwood,
Yep.
The effort wasn't there. Has Vossi lost the change room there? Are the players not standing up for their
Well, the players aren't standing
coach?
up. Absolutely. We see too often the coach gets blamed.
Yeah.
And I think we might have even said last week. The Carlton committee have made the decision twice in the last couple of years that Vossi's their man.
Yeah.
Their players, their list, they're just not standing up. That was the most insipid start to a game they've had all year. And they've still got some class. Absolutely, there's a few players that are under injury clouds, but everyone has that. They were very disappointing on the weekend, and I'll stay with Voss is your man.
Yeah.
Just make some structural changes around it. You need to revamp your list. They're too similar, the list.
They pull the trigger on coaches, and whether it be right or wrong, but since 2000, realistically, Wayne Britton had a couple of years, and then I think Pagan came in. Malthouse, Bolton, Teague, like they've flicked
Ratton.
through. Ratton was probably the one that they pulled the trigger on way too early.
Yeah.
He went finals, and then just missed and went bang. So
I thought Malthouse's comments over the weekend were interesting. He kind of came out and said that there's too many old boys at the club giving their thoughts, and that's what's throwing them off track.
Well, there's been commentary around that, and I can't speak because I'm not inside it, and we're away from it. But the two clubs that you always hear that about is Carlton and Essendon. That there's ex-players that have too much input and too much say about their footy clubs. You can probably speak to Essendon a bit more, but they're both underperformed for 20 years, both those clubs. So whether it be right or wrong, the evidence is starting to say that maybe it is because they've continued to underperform. But yeah, there's no quick fix there for Carlton. There's elements of their game that are better, but there's elements that aren't. And we speak about their 5 superstars that should be carrying them. And yes, they've had some injury concerns, but they're a long way off it. And we don't know where Port Adelaide are. Port Adelaide were very ordinary the week before against the Swans, and then come out and blow Carlton away. So I think we're starting to see, and we'll get to this round coming up, but there's a big gap between the best teams and the worst teams this year.
Yeah,
Like you said previously on completely different position, but the Lions, how they were getting a bit complacent and maybe it's time to drop a player here or there. Is it the same situation for Vossi, or is he feel like he's in a position where he can't drop his big players?
Well, he's potentially got a chance to, and
Who are you going to drop?
Well, De Koning is the one that you can make a statement with. His form's been down. He hasn't recommitted to the club. You can make a statement, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, but De Koning's probably the one because his output hasn't been there. And he should have got hold of Port Adelaide's ruckman the other night. If he wants to be a $2 million man and sign the big contract.
That hurts his value though if you drop him, doesn't it? That becomes almost like a personal decision.
It does, but you could justify it. You go, well, go have a look at the last 4 or 5 weeks because his start of the season was as good as anyone.
Yeah, it was.
And it hasn't been. And Pitnet is more than serviceable.
He competes well.
So, and you would say that Port were on top in that area with their younger ruckman on the weekend.
Was it
Sweet and Vizentini?
Vizentini
can play.
He competes well, doesn't he?
He's a weapon.
He goes well.
And he's only 19, 20. By the time he gets to 25, he's going to be good.
And gave a few free kicks away, but no, he was good. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be a tough week for for everyone there at Carlton.
If you're Vossi, just for a second, what do you want the board to come out and say? Because if you go back and I know that's a massive question, but like you listen to the comments over the weekend, they don't say, yeah, Vossi's our man, we're going to back him. They're kind of just like, we need to stick together. And we've been hearing this now for like 2 weeks. We've got to stick together. We've got to figure it out. But
It's nothing speech, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Vossi be having good support, I reckon. Graham Wright's there. He's got his footy manager. They'll be supporting him all the way through. They would be sticking tight. They'll be all in for Vossi until they're not. But that's the way
it is. Yeah,
but that's the way it happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think
you
they've
just
got to
don't
do.
want him to say that he's got the board's full support.
That's right.
That one.
You lose your off stump straight away. Then. No. I think they should be sticking with him.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Have you spoken to him?
I've sent him a text just to check in on him, see how he's going, and I mean that's all he probably can do. I can't not giving advice. I mean, he's the one with the courage to put his hand up to coach, and
Yeah, I
it's
know.
a big club, and he'd be rapt to have that job. But this, you're going to be in this sort of situation, and you want to be not in where they are on the ladder, but you want to be in a pressure situation and sort of work your way through it. He'd be, in some ways, he'd be sort of enjoying the process of getting your team together, making sure it's not fracturing, realign. And we heard in his, if you can lip read, in his presentation at 3/4 time last week about clarity around roles. Just do your role. So what he'd be doing, he'd be clarifying roles now and sort of making sure he's got the right players in the right roles and uniting them.
Yeah.
When it comes to uniting a team, a lot of coaches and players will say we just shut out the outside noise. How effective is that? Does the press actually weigh on your mind as a player when you're in a slump?
You can escape it in Queensland and Sydney, I would have thought. I can only speak to when I was in Adelaide. You can't escape it when you're in Adelaide. And
So
I'd
you go
imagine-
for a coffee.
Yeah, you go for a coffee.
get
You get
feedback?
some pretty strong feedback from supporters and opposition supporters, particularly Port. And I'd imagine Carlton supporters are pretty similar, being down in that area as well. It's hard to escape. So you've got to continue to try and live your life as best you can. But I have no doubt that Carlton supporters would be pretty brutal in their
there's
feedback.
the graffiti.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be backward in coming forward if they were to see him. Port Adelaide was the same, which is you love about it as well, because when you're up and about and going well, they're all patting you on the back. So you've got to take the good with the bad. But it's a throwaway line. Oh, we're just focused. Outside noise is just outside noise. You hear it, and you certainly absorb some of it. It's the best in the competition are the ones that can take that away. And I think the greatest sportsmen in history have always been that way. Tiger Woods and those guys, to put what's happening outside, and then when you get your opportunity to go out there and perform. But with Carlton, they're not doing that. They're not being able to sustain it for the full 4 quarters. So
The challenge is you've got to be aligned.
Yeah.
So whatever the tactics are, you've got to be aligned on the field and as a club. So that's the challenge when there is this sort of outside noise that pops up.
Yeah.
That's the great talent of a very good leader, is to get everyone on the same page. Because if you start to go into survival mode and start thinking, well, shit, at least I've got to play well.
Yeah.
And then that's when you jump out of your roles and you think, I'm just going to save my ass by kicking 4 goals or something like that.
Yep.
Then the predictability, the role clarity goes all out the door and it just implodes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use these situations as fuel, like thinking of another coach, Ange Postecoglou. He's great at it, just an us against them mentality. We're the underdogs. No one's expecting us to make. We're Sydney. No one's expecting us to make the top 8. Let's
No
go
one.
out. Yeah, one bloke. They might have a picture of you in the change room. Do it for Rocky.
You know how they all like at boxing gloves, or Brisbane got boxing gloves, they all tap. They might have a picture of me this one, they're just tapping on the way past.
This one's for you.
You got a bit, what's a bit of Kim Jong-un about you?
You'll be wearing a hat next week.
He's knocking us off one by one.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Anyway,
Chinese leader or the North Korean?
North
one?
Korean.
Yeah, maybe. Bit of a dictator.
Inevitable.
Just the hat, not your policy.
Not happy with the rug.
No,
The
I'm
rug's
happy with
good,
it. It goes well. Good.
I like the matching sweaters today.
Oh, no,
too.
it's a team, isn't it?
If Peaky
It's a great
Blinders
Boys
was
in
set
blue.
in North Korea,
A bit of Tommy Shelby about me.
Yeah, absolutely. The other talking point from the weekend, Tom Lynch, been a bad boy.
Well, yeah, Lynchy's probably better to speak about it. Well, you speak about like players that get tagged. So we've seen Dacos. There's been a limelight on him about the attention that he's getting. It's like, well, someone's playing on him for a change as a midfielder, which we all get accused of. Midfielders, you normally shake hands, and we'll see you at the end of the game. And you've always got your forwards going, "Oh, someone's finally playing on you. You can't handle it." But for a key forward, and I'll speak, I suppose, to Brownie somewhat. He went through it throughout his career because they're bigger and stronger than everyone. The umpires almost go, oh, they can handle it a bit more. And Brownie had some incidents in his career, which he would like back, where he just snapped because when you're getting ragdolled and you can't get the freedom to get your arms up and then you see the footy go down the other end and the key forwards at the other end getting paid straight away, you get frustrated. And Tom Lynch on the weekend hadn't touched a footy. He's got a bloke literally hanging off him. And he's a one-man band down there because of where they are. They've had great success, but he's back to almost where he was at the Gold Coast, where first starting out, he's trying to be the key man down there and take it and enforce somewhat. But when you're getting ragdolled and you can't get any freedom, then at some point you're going to snap. And you see Uze in the press conference after, he's not condoning what happened and the action of Lynch throwing the arm around, but he goes, you can understand the frustration somewhat. So I suppose it's more for Lynch to answer like how frustrating it is when you've got someone holding you.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but there'd be no one more embarrassed or disappointed in what happened than Tom. He'd be very disappointed that frustration sort of came to that. But yeah, I mean, he was struggling, and it happens when you're sort of towards the end of your career and out of a bit of form and get frustrated by the attention he was getting. But no, he'd be very disappointed with that. And you've seen in recent times he does get a bit frustrated.
He's got a reputation for it now. It changes the way we see him, I think.
Yeah, but he'd be very disappointed. So hopefully he doesn't get suspended for too long, but I suspect he might have a spell.
In saying that, like everyone thinks, he's pretty dirty, would have spent a few weeks on the side. He's only missed 2 games in his career through suspension, which is a lot, not much.
Tidy record.
Yeah, and I suppose it comes back to it, and he was a different case again, but Barry Hall went through similar late in his career where he got frustrated and players knew that they could get under his skin. I was never game enough.
That's a bit more deliberate than what Tom has done.
Yeah. But
well,
like the
Yeah.
frustration of those acts creeping into his game.
We can get frustrated towards the end of our career at times.
Did it happen to you at all?
No.
I know about missing a few punches. It's more of a, I'm swinging, get out of my way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this is my space, maybe.
That's it.
Is it more than just a game situation for him? It's like more of a season bubbling. He's, again, going back to square one.
Frustrating to a degree for him as well, because he's had issues with his body. He can get back out there and he's trying to compete and do the right thing for a young team to set an example and hasn't been able to get that. And I somewhat look back and potentially go, well, the umpires, if you see it, pay it. Like they started to do it for Dacos because the emphasis came on that, and Craig McRae started to make point of it in his press conference. If Uze's to make a point of it and say, well, he's getting held every week, like that, and I have no doubt that they'll send clips off. But if an umpire pays one early, they're not going to do it. And I think that's a bit of frustration watching as well. If you asked any Richmond supporter that watches them week in, week out and really closely, they'd say it's happened to him for 5 years. So I think you probably need umpire. And the umpiring, again, I don't like to bang on it. I do like to bang on it. They're so inconsistent.
This is the 4th week in a row you do like to bang on it.
They are so inconsistent.
Well, on that, they are. And with the inconsistency, and we do, I think, as a footy community at the moment, we're speaking too much about the umpires. But I think there needs to be a bit more transparency with even interpretation changes. You talk about, and Brownie made the comment in our game Gold Coast on the weekend. He said, we've picked up from the last couple of games, there's a change on the interpretation of going through the protected area and the 50-metre penalty. Now, my thought is, well, if you feel as an umpire group that you're going to focus on that because you've let it slip, tell us. Don't rely on commentators or or players to observe in the first two matches of the round,
Yep.
or hang on, they're starting to focus on this. And there's been a number of different things. The interpretation around prior opportunity is one thing. We're getting frustrated with the amount of goal line reviews that are happening.
There's another one on the weekend that went out to the wing and then they called it back.
But why not the AFL, the umpires, actually coach, come out and say, look, we've made a few mistakes on the goal line. So what we're going to do over the next few weeks, we're going to review if it's 50-50, we're going to review it because we don't want to miss them. But actually put that on the agenda. We've let the protected area slip over the over the season, so we're going to focus on that a bit more, so that we all know. We go, hang on, they said they were going to tighten up on that. Might be with the Tom Lynch, the holding in marking contests, the push in the back one, which we speak. This is like the umpiring stuff we speak about every week. Tell us the focus point. Yeah. So we've let it drift. We're going to tighten it up, but actually a bit of transparency, I think, from the umpires to the AFL community. So we're all over it. We're not saying, oh, that was shocking the last month what you've done. Okay, they've assessed that they've let it slip in a particular area and they're going to focus on it moving forward and go, okay, the dissent rule.
I was going to say that was one I noticed 2 weeks ago, but they called it a couple of weeks ago in a game I was watching.
But absolutely.
But so it's gone again this week.
So maybe even say, look, where it was with Harris Andrews doing that and getting a 50-metre penalty against 4 years ago, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've probably gone too far the other way now. We're going to focus on it. But I reckon that transparency to tell us this is what we're focusing on, rather than everyone have to observe, I reckon the protected zone's been enforced more, or
how
the
does the
prior
process
opportunity
work in terms of, does the AFL actually hit up the umpires and go, look, can you focus more on
something
this?
on
who should be
say the dissent rule? I reckon that would be something that's come from the football department of the AFL, saying this is not great for our game. We've got players abusing the umpires. We've got to get rid of that. So that might be adjusted from the football department and not from the AFL umpires coach.
The umpires and AFL come up with rules and they send memos out to the clubs and say this is what we're going to focus on this week. But Lynchy's to Lynchy's point, they certainly do. That if there's a tweak in it, they'll send it to the clubs so the clubs can review it, or send some clips out so you can get education around it. But to Lynchy's point, because commentators are the ones that are effectively educating the general public or the footy community, speak to the commentators so that then they can reinforce it and give education so that the fans understand it. I have a feeling, and I heard it, my ears heard, because we've got them mic'd up, the umpires, the one where Melcham, I think, gave away a 50-metre on the weekend where he went forward to man the mark but then came back as the umpire started to call stand. I'm sure he said that's a new rule, the umpire to Melcham.
Oh, right.
The other commentators heard learn the rule, but I thought he said that's a new rule. And we've seen it a lot more in the last few weeks, those 50-metre penalties where someone goes to come forward to the mark and then they go, oh, actually, I'm going to take a few steps back. The umpire calls stands and then pays a 50-metre. I have a feeling they've brought that in because I don't think it was set in stone that I thought you could...
You can't retreat.
You can pull back off the mark.
To a degree. But I have a feeling they've changed it and brought in a new rule that if they call stand, if you're going forward and then they call stand but you start to move back, they're going to pay it. So I have a feeling they have changed a couple of rules, but they haven't told everyone else.
We need a statement.
Come out and tell us, and then we can, as commentators, we get everything wrong anyway, but not Lynchy. Lynchy's the ultimate professional, gets everything right.
But we do. We can educate. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, educate people while they're viewing the game.
Yeah. Do you guys think, because this is a big debate in rugby league right now with Origin and everything, do you guys think big games are officiated differently to ones that aren't as meaningful? Like, say we got Carlton Collingwood this Friday night, big stakes game.
Whistle will go away.
Yeah. But then we got West Coast and GWS where you will see those things called more. Is that the same in the AFL?
Back to Lynchy's point as well, because you've got 4 umpires, they see 4 different things. So the interpretation is different. But I think big games, and particularly everyone talks about finals, how well you've got the best umpires there, but the grand final is always the best. They let it go.
Best umpires, best players.
Best players. So you've got the best of everything. But they let it go, where you'd like to see it be let go early in the season. Just let them play. Let the boys play and get it done.
And that the umpiring decision, which that frustrates me. You got 4 umpires on the ground. One's not in the play.
1,000 metres away.
Yeah, so he's not in it. The one that's 40 metres away, who occasionally makes decisions and overrules the two that are close, that person that's 40 metres away or 30 metres away, he shouldn't. You want to put in a cricket analogy? He shouldn't be making a decision unless it's an LB halfway up middle.
It should be being referred.
Yeah, because the two that are there-ish, the two that are there, they've made a decision that that's not a free kick.
Yeah.
So they've already made a decision, but the negative decision from 40 metres, too often I'm sure they're guessing or thinks, oh, no, I've seen that. No, it has to be halfway up middle to make that call. Can't just guess because too often that happens.
Yeah, I agree.
You can tell they're guessing 50% of the time.
Yeah. Some of them they can't even see and they make the decision.
Well, someone throws their arms up, then that's a decision for them.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
we
crowd
saw-
gets involved.
I mean, we saw in the ruck
contest.
every game. They blow the whistle and no one knows which way it's going. No one knows, and they go, "Really? That happened?" The 20. Why'd the 15 metre turn to a 20 metre unofficially?
Well, in the back pocket, it's 25 metres.
Yeah. Well, and you know
then-
what that's consistent with? Because like if it's forward, it's 15 metres. If it's in the forward half, it's 15 metres because they want players to shoot for goal. But you're right, it's 25 metres. And that's consistent with when the guy plays on from full back, he's running 25, 30 metres sometimes.
Yeah, he runs along.
He just runs and you go, hang on.
14 steps.
Yeah. When are we going to bring him?
He just runs. Yeah. But they just want the play to flow and get out of that D50, so they just let him run.
There was one on the weekend in the Gold Coast game where he literally would have kicked it inside 50. It went no further than 6 metres and they paid the mark. But then there was some that went 25, 30 metres in the back half and they called play on.
That one's at the top of my list for what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got no depth perception. It's all lateral.
Only when you're going forward.
But why'd they change it?
Well, I don't think they have they?
Well,
It's supposed
no, they
to be
haven't changed
15.
the rule. Yeah, no, they haven't changed the rule.
Well, they want
but they've changed the interpretation.
They want to get the game going. They don't want those build-up and marks in the back. It's like the man on the mark. He's back 25, 30 metres now instead of being 5 metres.
Yeah.
So it lets that player run out so far to get the distance on the ground. The other talking point is the ground, the SCG.
Yes.
You touched on it briefly about the Swans having to go to the showgrounds this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Lynchy, you see the SCG more than any of us. What's the go down
It's
there?
terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And it has, whenever that Bocelli concert was after round 1, I think, or between 1 and 2, it hasn't recovered. So down that Noble stand end, the actual grass cover's not too bad, but it's rolled mud underneath. There's no root system, so the boots just slip. And so it wasn't just players slipping over in the game, and it sort of got comical in the end. You're watching on the screen, you see 6 players, and there's someone slipping over all the time. But it wasn't just that. We spoke about it, especially in the first 2 quarters, the poor kicking coming out of the defensive 50 at that end. It's because your plant foot when you're going to kick the ball is sliding, which is dangerous. Now, we didn't say it on air, but we were all cringing when you've got your marquee player, Sam Darcy, in the second quarter going down to full forward and playing in that part of the ground. You're just hoping there was not going to be an injury.
Yeah, of course.
But if a foot slips, it just it's so dangerous, so terrible. So they've got to decide. And I love the SCG. Like there's old parts of it, great atmosphere, that sort of stuff. Usually in really good condition, but they've let it go because they let a concert come on and it hasn't recovered. And the AFL need to make a stand, I reckon, and say, well, you can't put a concert on in season and compromise the standard of the players' surface.
Not for that ground. So I think they shifted it. They were certainly talking about going to the showgrounds.
I think it's
Olympic
basically
Park.
been said. It hasn't come up on the AFL website yet, but
Really? Because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It actually is really dangerous and you'd hate to have it. And so football managers of each club have the right, or supposedly, they inspect the ground the day before to tick it off. They weren't looking at that. If they ticked that off, they weren't looking at it.
Yeah.
Because absolutely dangerous.
You think the AFL will let them? They may be
Yeah.
able to say
No,
it, but
that's-
the only ones that could potentially do it is the Players Association. They could send someone up there and go, this is unsafe.
Yeah.
We're not playing here. We need to shift it. But they'd have to do it the day before to let everyone know so that they could shift it.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be able to,
No.
realistically. And that came in because with Marvel Stadium, when that early stages had the issues.
The beach.
Yeah, so people were slipping over everywhere. But no, it's a major concern. And like the Sydney Swans, and I think Dean Cox was, played the straight bat, which you've got to as the home team. But their players aren't impressed at all with it. It's not good.
Yeah.
Tell you what I am impressed with, Sydney. I think it's the crowd's all single.
Everything about Sydney.
Yeah, crowd.
Look out.
I reckon it's the single hotspot. I might have to get down there for a few more games. I think with Lynchy flying his backpack. You and me
It's
go
all
down,
the
Jack?
corporate fans.
No, well, there's a lot of young.
No, but isn't there, in all seriousness, no, they've spoken about this.
We'll have
Isn't
to
there a
clip that
couple of times there's a dating
Yeah, I think
service that
I
sends.
have heard this.
Yeah,
Yes.
a
they-
Bumble or a Hinge or something.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
send singles there, and it's down the far end of the ground.
How do I get a free ticket? Send me to
You burn all your tickets down in Adelaide. Drinking all
I
those
reckon
free
Sydney
beers.
are going to make the top 8 as well.
You got to have
Change
the
the
hot
tune.
takes.
I don't mind a loose oval in many regards.
You boys down there in your budgie smugglers at Bondi?
Well, we might have to get down there. Neds will have to fly us down for a.
Do some Voxies or something.
Well, we might have to, yeah.
You're down there
Interview
for
the
Origin
crowd.
next week.
I am.
You can duck over.
We won't talk about too much Origin right now.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a break or just push on and do one segment?
We can push on. I want to ask Lynchy though really
Yeah.
quick because you made some headlines during the week about the Lions.
Jesus.
Yeah, good headlines. The Lions ruck stocks. You're going to bat for Rowan Marshall.
Oh, yeah. That was on Fox Sports News. They posed me the question that if Oscar McInerney's struggling with his body, which he obviously is,
Yep.
and Darcy Fort at his age, I think 32,
Yep.
what's next? Because they've got young Henry Smith that's 20 or 21, 206 centimetre, but he's going to take a bit of time.
Yep.
And they posed the question that does Brisbane look at, who was it?
Draper.
Draper or Riley O'Brien? I thought, well, no, Rowan Marshall. Rowan Marshall is being told essentially that you're not our future. You're not our ruckman moving forward because we're going to spend a lot of money on Tom DeConing.
Yep.
If I was Rowan Marshall and if I was Brisbane Lions, I'd be saying, hey, Rowan, do you want to be number one ruckman? Because we've got a void to fill until Henry's right, and we've got our two experienced ruckmen at the latter stages of their career come up for 3 years. And I think it'd be attractive for him.
He could play for. He's only young, and
29 he is. So he's 29.
He was good on the weekend.
So he was really good
that
against
soccer
Freo.
goal.
So it's either him or Sean Darcy. Like Darcy can compete as a big ruckman that can get it around the ground. So I think they're keen, obviously, on Oscar Allen, the Lions as well. So they obviously got somewhat of a war chest, which is unbelievable considering how much talent they've got to be able to go and poach.
The Joe Danaher.
Yeah, so
cap space.
Joe's gone. So you've got Oscar. So who would you go for? Oscar Allen, Rowan Marshall, Darcy, or Draper? If you had the choice.
If I had the choice, and they come at slightly different pay scales, but I'd
Marshall.
I'd go to Marshall. I'd go to Marshall and say, look, we can't pay you top dollar, but what we'll do, you've been a very good player for a long time. Has he been an Australian?
Close. No,
Well,
Matt
there-
Scorn's had 15 of them.
Yeah,
the last 15.
So you've been a very good player and you've been paid well for a long time. We'll give you an opportunity over the next 3 years to be a part of a team that's going to challenge.
It's pretty appealing.
And like he's not going to go poor.
No.
They're still going to get a reasonable pay, but I would have thought, look for him.
Yep.
Rather than going and paying big money for a ruckman.
It's a win-win for both
What
sides.
is the flag discount that bigger clubs get on these older?
Well,
I think it's valuable to you because you get the bonus at the end, then you get memorabilia, and then you can potentially fill up, depending what you want. You can do talks and stuff
Get a
after.
calendar.
Yeah.
get a calendar.
Yeah, look
But
out.
A few Lions players got to
It
get
is.
some
Text
couple of units
messages
in
on the
Noosa.
weekend.
There's a lot of players who've gone through their career and been very good players, and for no fault of their own, haven't got a premiership because of where they've been wrong place, wrong
They've been
time,
at
sort of
St
thing.
Kilda.
But they've been good. But they've been good players. But more and more, I think players are looking at, if I can go at the end of my career, and you look, there's so Ben McAvoy at St Kilda. So they were struggling.
He was their number one ruckman and by a long way.
And sort of got the flick to go to Hawthorn in that era. And God, really?
Big baby.
And Geelong does the same. They offer opportunities to go be a part of it. So you have to take a discount on your pay or what you might get somewhere else. But there's an opportunity to be a part of a successful team.
The other thing as well, the lifestyle of Brisbane's exceptional. And most players experience that through COVID, so they know what it's like. So your chance to live up here in a nice environment and then, chance to potentially win a flag. Like they're going to be in the window for a long time, you would think, the Lions.
Yeah, you look at their list demographic, there's some young players, young stars coming through, and you think, oh, we've lost Joe Danaher, but Logan Morris is going all right.
Yeah.
Jack Payne's a young man when he comes back. I mean, they've got some good young players.
Yeah.
100%.
And it sounds like Hawthorn's sort of not as keen on Oscar Allen now, so Brisbane's in the driver's seat.
Well, I think they did that for the Harley Reid, didn't they?
Yeah.
They threw Oscar Allen under the bus to be able to meet with. They met with Harley as well, so get all the attention on that meeting and make their actual meeting the one that they wanted.
All right, let's push ahead. We won't take a break today. We'll look ahead to round 17. Not the most appealing weekend of footy, I have to say, but we do start with North Melbourne's 100-year anniversary on Thursday night against the Bulldogs.
Big Thursday game for the shin bonus.
Yeah, under the roof. Any chance of a Roos upset?
I don't think so. But you've put them in the multi this week, which is a bit concerning.
Yeah,
but,
40.5 point line, I think.
We just in the snapshot multied them all up, all the favourites this week for $7.52. It'd have to be the shortest round of favourites. So the biggest price favourite this week's $1.65 in the Swans, but you're getting go through the games, Lynch, and pick 9 for me. It on paper is the easiest to pick 9 winners.
North Melbourne Bulldogs, so Bulldogs surely. I just jumped on the North Melbourne bandwagon last week, and geez, they stopped. Yeah, Collingwood Carlton, you'd think Collingwood. Giants West Coast, yep. Suns Essendon.
So Essendon had 4 injuries or something out of training on the weekend.
Yeah.
So Redmond, so they've
Langford,
they're.
Oh, no good.
We must be
Cats,
training on the SCG
Cats,
or something. It's ridiculous.
Cats Richmond. Yeah, I think probably Cats.
Cats are the shortest team.
Probably
Lions
Cats.
Port
Could be
Adelaide.
cool.
Is that the one? Is that the chance? Port Adelaide?
The Rockliff Cup.
Yeah, the Rockliff Cup, maybe.
If they play well, but Brisbane at home, you'd imagine.
Hawthorn St Kilda, you'd think. Yeah, I think the horse. Sydney Fremantle. That's a tough game. At wherever it is across the road. Adelaide Melbourne.
So I think it's the top 9 versus the bottom 9.
Yeah,
if
that
correct.
sounds about right, yeah.
Sydney Freo is a tough one. Not that you think it's a tough one.
Sydney
lay down was there.
Walk in the park.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll win that by 100.
Yeah.
It's not the best round of footy, is it? Obviously Thursday night. You spoke about it. It's a good celebration for North Melbourne, and I think they're getting all their premiership teams from the past, which there's not a great deal of them, but get them all together to celebrate on the Thursday night. So that'll be a special night for them.
Be a huge night. Some iconic names going to be part of that. That'll be a good night.
They
if they could have a good performance
after last week's
Yeah,
performance.
massively.
Well, that can happen as well with young teams. Like they've been up for probably 6 to 8 weeks. They've had some really good performances, been in most games, fallen just short in a couple, had a good couple of wins, had the draw against the Lions, and then you have a downer. So I reckon
Hawks are
they'll
off the
bounce
bye
back.
too.
Yeah, Hawks, and they're up and about for that game. Obviously coming up against Clarko, Sam would have had them fired up. So you can somewhat understand it. Like they'll be disappointed with it. They were very ordinary, but you'd expect a response of some sort.
I know like progression is never linear, but like at what size blocks do you measure how well you're going when you're one of those teams that are coming up?
I think the best way to do it, you probably split it into quarters. So
Yeah.
for the season, go in 6-week blocks. If we can identify your 6 weeks, if we can have a really strong block here, and then it's just something to work towards, and then you reset after that 6 weeks is probably the right amount. But again, they're coming off their 5-day break is not ideal for them.
Yeah.
And
against
it
the
wouldn't
Red
be
Hot
just
Dogs.
about wins and losses as well. Internally, they're looking at all different KPIs. Now, on the weekend was disappointing regardless. But, these internal measures, which is what the Lions did in the first couple of years under Chris Fagan, around even the improvement on percentage. So you mightn't be getting a win, but how your percentage increases, whether it's whatever their major KPIs they've got to address, whether it's improvement in clearances or contested ball or hitting targets inside 50, whatever.
Yeah.
But they'd be measuring that internally.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like sometimes it's 3 steps forward and 1 back,
Yeah.
or 3 steps forward and 3 back at times. But then you learn from that, go again.
Speaking of learning, George Wardlaw, do you think he needs to cool it a bit on that? I mean, I love a hard-nosed footy player. I love aggressive footy, but...
Even that one as well, it didn't look like a massive hit, but Nash is pretty thick.
Yeah.
So he's at his 3rd in a short period.
Getting worrying.
Yeah, concerning with the head knock. So he's a tough, hard player that we all love to watch, and when he's up and about, he goes well. But yeah, he'll be out for at least a couple of weeks, and then hopefully he can recover well and get back out there. But it's just one of those things. Players, it's hard to change the way you play. Like a Joel Selwood could never change the way he played. He just went out there and went about it. So it's going to be difficult for him to change the way he plays.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. All right, boys, that might do us for this week. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Lynchy. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Rich.
Very good. Good luck with the haircuts during the week. It's been a dramatic week.
You need a perm. With
I might
Champs.
get something. I might get a rinse. Take out some greys.
Salt and pepper.
Bit of feedback on the text line.
Champs is he goes the Caribbean gold, I think it is.
Of course he does. And White gets the peroxide and the fake tan.
Head to Sydney.
Thanks for listening to Ned's AFL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcasts? Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.